Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Melo. Today, we're talking about why we struggle. As simple as that. Why do we have the difficulties that we face when it comes to working on boundaries as it relates to burnout in physicians? It sounds like a simple problem, but it's not. And it's counterintuitive to the way that most of us were trained. And so today we're going to talk about it and really come at this from the lens of how can we start to change the picture. Tonight was the first session of my new group, Unbound, Women Physicians Reclaiming Their Lives. And one of the things that we talked about was areas that we all struggle with when it comes to boundaries. And for most of us, it wasn't some major thing. It was really even setting small boundaries to be able to do something as simple as eating lunch in the middle of the day. Now, some of you out there listening, most of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you actually take a break in the middle of the day to eat some food? Hopefully not rushing it too fast, right? But to actually take a break from your busy day and eat some food. It sounds ridiculously simple. And yet, how many of us struggle with that? I remember when I used to be a residency faculty, on Friday mornings, I would precept. I'd be sitting at my desk. I'd have usually stopped at a bakery to get a coffee, and of note, I don't know why, but I always picked out a chocolate croissant. And it would sit there untouched all morning. Because what would happen is I was sitting at my desk waiting for residents to precept. I would be attacking my inbox and I would get a little thing done and new messages would come in. I'd be finishing some notes that hadn't been finished from the week. I'd be responding to emails. I would not actually eat that thing sitting on my desk. And you could say that, well, I should have, right? I wasn't in seeing patients. I might have popped into rooms periodically during precepting, but I was quote unquote available to eat. And yet my brain wouldn't let me take a break and eat it because I was at work and there was tons of work to be done, right? That inbox was yelling at me. And I'm sure if I could get into my head and look at the thoughts that were going on, I would see something along the lines of, you can't eat until that inbox is empty. And I know that that's a common thought, even if it's not a conscious thought that most of us have. So today we're going to walk into these stories that we have and try and figure out what is going on. Why are we struggling? So think of a similar issue that you have. It could be struggling to eat lunch. For some of the participants, it was stretching or moving our bodies or drinking water and uncaffeinated beverages during the day, taking a break, getting some fresh air, right? Pretty simple things that we might have the thought, why can't I just do this? Why can't I figure this out? This is a sentence that ends up running over and over and over again in our brains. Think about similar things. We ask ourselves, what's wrong with me that I can't figure out how to take a break and have lunch, right? Why can't I just do this? We get to the end of the day, we are out of that immediate situation, and we wonder, why did I not get this done? Why did I not finish my notes? Why did I not take a break? The logical parts of our brain do a terrible job. They do that Monday morning quarterbacking, right? I'm not a sports person. I'm pretty sure that's the phrase though, right? They look back and they see a simple goal that we had, such as taking a break for 10 minutes to eat lunch, right? Pretty straightforward, not rocket science. They see a goal like that and they can't rationalize what on earth was going on that we couldn't take a 10-minute break. That logical part of our brain has forgotten how we were feeling in the moment. So let's say you're an outpatient clinic provider and you have a break in your day, right? which means you don't have patients scheduled between, let's say, noon and 1. That's a fairly common schedule that a lot of people might have where they don't have patients scheduled between noon and 1. And we can look around the clinic, right? We can look and see what the non-provider staff are doing, right? The mandated breaks that are required for nurses, our front desk people, right? Everybody else. But for us, it is a break in the scheduled patients, but not a break in the work. So put yourself in that space. Let's say your morning ran over. Let's say you got a few notes done, but most of them are still open. You get to your inbox and it is covered in messages, some of which are marked urgent, some of which are actually medically urgent, but many of which are not medically urgent, but they are patient insistent urgent. You know what I'm talking about there. You get to this inbox, you have notes undone, you have an hour in theory before your afternoon starts, although let's be honest, probably your morning ran late. Why are you not going to take that 10-minute break to stop and eat? Because of the way that you feel. So if you're in that situation, if you're in that moment, what are you feeling? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling exhausted because the morning was just so hard, right? There are feelings that you're having that you are probably not naming for yourself. You're probably not letting yourself be aware of them or curious about them, but they're there. Our logical part of our brain is going to forget that later, but in the moment, we are having feelings. We might be feeling guilty that there are messages that we haven't dealt with all morning because, hey, we were double booked. That's probably not our choice either, right? But there are feelings here. Our thoughts create our feelings. Our feelings drive our actions. So when we are in that logical part of our brain, looking back, thinking, why didn't I take a break and eat lunch? Right? All we can see is that that person worked straight through, right? The morning ran long. We stayed in our inbox. We maybe got some notes done. We maybe goofed around on Facebook, right? Looking for some distraction. Maybe we went to go pee. Maybe we heated up our lunch, but we never actually got back to get it, right? We can see the actions when we look back, but we often don't remember what we were feeling. And in the moment, we were feeling anxious, guilty, overwhelmed, exhausted. That created the actions of not actually stopping to take a break and eat your lunch. What underlies that even further is the thoughts that we have that create those emotions. Our thoughts create our feelings drive our actions, right? So what are the thoughts that create the emotion of feeling anxious, right? We have thoughts of, I'm so far behind. The morning was so hard. What if there's something really urgent in here? Why do I have so many messages? If we're feeling exhausted, maybe we didn't sleep well. Maybe we got double booked. Maybe somebody came in with something really challenging or some kind of complex social situation that we feel really helpless to make a difference in, right? Maybe we feel overwhelmed by all of the things that are going on and all of the expectations that people have when we've only got 10 or 15 minutes to spend with them and they've been saving up a list. We have all kinds of feelings and all kinds of thoughts that are baked in. Most of those thoughts that are going into those emotions that we're having that are keeping us from eating lunch are conditioned thoughts that we've had for years and years and years. Patients come first. There might be something scary in my inbox. If I can just get a few notes done, maybe the rest of the day won't be so bad. I don't want to be up all night. I'm going to be up all night again, right? There are so many thoughts going on, many of which we are not fully aware of, that drive us to stay in our quote unquote comfort zone of just working through and not stopping to take a break. This is a pattern that repeats itself over and over and over again, but that logical part of our brain that judges us later does not remember how we were feeling in the moment when we decided to finish the note or not finish the note, take a break and eat lunch or not. When we are starting to figure out why we struggle, looking back through this lens and really understanding what are the feelings that are getting in my way? What are the feelings that are creating these actions, the things that I'm doing or not doing? What's going on here? And then we start really looking into the thoughts. What is it that has me thinking that I have to put everyone above myself all the time? That thinks that I don't deserve to have lunch unless the inbox is empty? That thinks that I shouldn't finish my note with the patient during the visit, that would be rude. I don't want to inconvenience them or have them bored. When, unfortunately, part of the visit time is supposed to be about the note completion, whether anyone likes it or not, right? What is the alternative? The alternative to not getting your note done while the patient is with you is that you're going to have to mentally come back to that visit. You're going to have tabs open in your brain, right? You're going to be thinking about them as you are with all the other people because that work is not resolved yet. There are ways that we are used to thinking that are causing the emotions that we struggle with and leading to the actions that we take or don't take that are a part of the problem. It's so important to understand that, so that that judgmental, logical part of us that is looking back thinking, there's something wrong with me, that I can't make this happen. I'm broken because I can't even stop and take a 10-minute break. That judgmental part does not understand what is making it so hard. And until we get a little bit of curiosity going, until we understand this pattern that our thoughts create our feelings drive our actions, we will just continue to struggle, right? It will not make sense to our logical brains. We will continue to judge and shame and blame ourselves. We will stay stuck. When we start doing this work and figuring out what are these thoughts that I have over and over and over again that are creating this anxiety, that are creating this exhaustion and overwhelm, and how can I start to make change? That's when we claim our power. For such a long time, I struggled in victim mode. And I hear this a lot from so many of us, that we feel completely trapped in our work, that we have no choices, that this is just the way it is. And we can choose to stay there. We could choose to hang on to that. And we know what we're going to get, right? That's the devil that we know. I can choose to stay here. Or if I choose to get curious and I choose to dig in and really understand these patterns, then I have a chance to make a change. Then I have a chance to make different choices. Then I have a chance to do the uncomfortable work of changing the way I think and feel. The healthcare system is very broken. You've heard me say that over and over and over again. And we can look at that all we like, and we can complain, and we can stay in victim mode, and we can continue to feel trapped. We can jump from job to job thinking it's this job that's so broken, it's this job that I'm struggling with. But as we've talked about before, it doesn't matter where you go if you are hanging on to these thoughts and beliefs and emotions and patterns, because they will follow you. They will follow you where you go. Better is to start to work on them. And that is the work that makes such a difference. Yes, the healthcare system needs to change. Yes, the financial incentives to force physicians to see more and more patients with less and less time and less resources, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And although there's a lot of innovation and big thinkers on it, I don't want to wait, and I don't want you to wait for them to figure it out before we make a change. Nor do I want you to leave medicine unless you want to. I don't want you to hop to a new job thinking that the new job will fix me and I'll just be magically different. Now, sometimes we will find a new job. We will choose to do something different because we see that it is more aligned with what we actually want. But that new job does not fix us. And it's really critical to understand that. We need to do the work on our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And it starts with identifying, what am I feeling that is keeping me doing the same thing over and over again when I'm trying to make change? It's so critical to understand that part in order to make a different choice. As physicians, we have been trained to tune out our feelings, to ignore signals in our body like hunger or fatigue or thirst or the need to pee, because it is inconvenient to the practice of medicine. It is inconvenient to the practice of medicine that you need to sleep a certain amount, that you need to go to the bathroom after standing on your feet for 9 hours in the OR, right? It is inconvenient that you might need to stop and have a snack so that you don't get dizzy and pass out. It is inconvenient to a system that wants you to work and work and work and work, because the more patients you see, the more things that you do, the more procedures, the more codes you drop. That's how the money comes in. The cost of the system being set up this way is huge. And like I said, I think there is a need for change and there's innovation going on, but we are not going to wait for it. Because even if the system's changed, our conditioned brains will continue to operate this way. And I think you know that that's true, because what happens when you're on vacation and you're feeling anxious and guilty and overwhelmed? You have brought those thoughts with you on vacation. I won't belabor that more, but it's true that we are so used to having these thoughts and having these feelings that we feel completely stuck. My friends, this is no way to live. You know that, and yet, because we don't talk about it enough in medicine, it's very easy to feel like there are no other options. That I'm this way, this is the way I feel, I can't think of a way to feel differently, because we can't just poof, invent that out of the air. I can't just change the way that I feel. But I can start to work on having new thoughts. I can start to tune into the way that I feel. My physical sensations like hunger and going to the bathroom, let's take care of those, but also the emotions that I'm having. And if I start to be aware of those things, then I can start to identify those patterns and start to make changes. It's uncomfortable to do this work. It requires setting boundaries. It requires disappointing other people. It requires you being uncomfortable and feeling like a beginner, which is not something that high achievers enjoy. We don't enjoy feeling like we're flailing. Am I right? But that's the work here. And that's the work that's going to make a real difference. I know, if you're listening to me, that you want to feel better. I know that you want to change the way that you feel. And it's not just going to happen out of thin air. And it's not just automatically going to happen if you leave medicine. And it's not just going to happen if you leave this job and go do something else, even if it's working for yourself. We have to work on the thoughts. We have to identify the feelings that we have over and over again and figure out how could we change those by changing the ways that we think about our work and who we are and the volume of work that's in front of us, and when we're going to set a boundary and say, my work is done for today. The actions will follow, but they won't also materialize out of thin air. We have to do this work. You can white knuckle your way through different actions for a while, but eventually the dominoes are going to fall. I'm so excited for the women who are joining me in Unbound, Women Physicians Reclaiming Their Lives, because this is the work that we will do together. This is the work that I do with my physician clients. This is the work that has made such a difference in my own life. And I invite you to do this work too. Now, if you missed signing up for Unbound, but you are listening to me in early December 2024, I want you to reach out because there may be an option for you to join. If you're listening to me and it's way past that time, you're going to need to wait for the next round, but you can also sign up to work with me one-on-one and do this work alongside. It's so helpful to have people who are doing this work with you. It's so helpful to not feel like you are the only person that you can hold yourself accountable to, because we struggle with that. It's great when we're working on meeting the expectations of other people. It's great when other people are expecting certain outcomes from us. We're pretty good at that. We're not so good at working on things that matter most to us. And that's where that accountability and that coaching and that support make such a difference. My friends, I will leave you with that for today. Thank you as always for tuning in. This is still work that I just love so much doing, and I love so much sharing it with you, and it means so much to me that you tune in and listen each week. I'll ask that if this podcast has made a difference for you in your life, please share it with a friend. Please leave a rating and a review, especially in Apple iTunes, because that helps this to be in the ears of other people. Your support by doing this, by sharing it with other people, by leaving a rating and review makes such a difference. I can't even describe it. It helps us bring the work to more women physicians so that more of us can be thriving, be living lives that have us feeling fulfilled and not so drained, exhausted, and overwhelmed. My friends, have a wonderful week. And until next time, take care.